It started like any other day. A man in Pennsylvania was counting his change after a quick stop at the gas station. Pennies, nickels, dimes, nothing out of the ordinary. But one tiny copper coin caught his eye. At first, it looked like any other modern Lincoln penny. Shiny, new, barely worn. Yet that single coin would soon become the center of one of the most shocking stories in modern numismatics. Because that small, unassuming penny, struck in 2017 with a little p under the date, would end up being worth close to $1 million. That's the mystery that sent collectors into a frenzy. Because the 2017 Lincoln penny wasn't just any penny, it marked the first and only time in history that the U.S. Mint placed a P mint mark on a Lincoln cent struck in Philadelphia. For over a century, Philadelphia pennies were made with no mint mark at all. But in 2017, to celebrate the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint, they broke tradition. And that tiny change, one single letter, turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. Collectors didn't know it then, but hidden among the billions of 2017 pennies were a handful with strange and costly errors. Some were double dies, where the design was accidentally struck twice, leaving Lincoln's face slightly shadowed. Others had die cracks, cuds, or missing letters. A few had off-center strikes or even missing plating. Each of these mistakes turned a 1-cent coin into a small fortune. But there was one in particular, one penny that stunned even the most seasoned numismatists. Because that coin sold for nearly $1 million. When the coin first surfaced, it seemed impossible. How could something so new be so rare? But experts quickly realized what made it unique. This particular 2017 penny had a combination of minting errors so severe, so one of a kind, that no other coin like it had ever been confirmed. It wasn't just a double die. It wasn't just a misaligned strike. It was a hybrid of multiple mechanical failures, all happening during a single press cycle, that created a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. The man who found it almost threw it away. He was about to use it at a vending machine when he noticed the faint doubling in Lincoln's eye and the distorted Liberty on the left. Curious, he took a closer look, and his heart nearly stopped. He sent it off to be graded, and when the results came back, collectors were stunned. Graded MS-67 red, with one of the most dramatic error combinations ever recorded, it became one of the most desirable modern pennies in existence. Within months, the story spread across collector forums and auction houses. Bidding wars erupted. Dealers flew across states just to see it in person. And when the final hammer dropped, that single cent had turned into a life-changing sum, nearly $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Suddenly, everyone started checking their change. People were hoarding 2017 pennies by the handful, searching for that hidden treasure. Coin dealers couldn't keep them in stock. Entire rolls were selling out in minutes online. For a coin most people ignored just weeks before, it became the most talked about penny in America. What made the 2017 penny so fascinating wasn't just its value, it was its story. For the first time ever, Philadelphia proudly marked its coins with a P, something it had never done in more than a century of minting. It was supposed to be a simple commemorative gesture, a nod to tradition. But that tiny decision sparked one of the greatest modern treasure hunts in coin collecting history. And as collectors began finding minor varieties and minting flaws, the legend of the $1 million penny only grew. It's like lightning struck twice, first at the mint, then in my pocket. That's how unpredictable these discoveries can be. You never know when a tiny imperfection, invisible to the casual eye, could turn spare change into a small fortune. Every 2017 penny holds a story, but only a few tell one worth $1 million. Not all valuable 2017 pennies have wild, dramatic errors. Some are worth thousands just for their pristine condition. High-grade examples, especially those certified MS-67 or MS-68 red, have fetched incredible prices at auction. In fact, one near-perfect 2017 penny sold for over $7,000 simply because it was one of the best-preserved coins of its kind. Combine that condition with even the slightest doubling or die crack, and the value can skyrocket. Start with the basics. Flip your penny under a bright light and look for the P under the date. That tells you it was struck in Philadelphia during the Mint's 225th anniversary. Then, look closely at Lincoln's eye, nose, and the word Liberty. Doubling, shadows, or ghost-like outlines can indicate a double die. Check the rim and the words, "In God We Trust," for cracks, cuds, or uneven letters. Finally, inspect the back, the shield design, for any missing lines or plating errors. Even the tiniest flaw can mean big money, but here's the part that gets collectors' hearts racing. Somewhere out there, among the billions of 2017 pennies, a few more undiscovered errors still exist. Maybe they're sitting in a jar on a dresser. Maybe they're mixed in with change at a coffee shop. Maybe one is sitting right now in your pocket, waiting to change your life forever. That's what makes coin collecting so thrilling, the idea that history, rarity, and fortune can be hiding in plain sight, and it's not just luck. It's about knowing what to look for. Understanding how small details, a letter, a shadow, a crack, can make the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth $1 million. Collectors have learned that patience and a sharp eye can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. Dealers are still watching for this coin. Auction houses are still talking about it. The U.S. Mint even acknowledged the buzz, calling the 2017 Lincoln cent a symbol of celebration and surprise. It reminded everyone that even in modern minting, perfection isn't guaranteed, and sometimes, that's where the magic happens. So, before you spend that penny, take a second look. Because the 2017 Lincoln cent isn't just another coin, it's a piece of minting history. It represents change, both literally and figuratively. It's proof that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable value. Imagine waking up tomorrow to find that a penny you tossed in a jar years ago is worth more than your car. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that carries the power to change your life. It sounds unbelievable, but it's happened before. And it could happen again. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were speechless. And one ordinary man, with one ordinary penny, walked away with nearly $1 million. That's not luck, that's legacy. So go check your pocket change, your piggy bank, your old coffee jars. Look closely at every 2017 penny you find. Because the one with that tiny P could be the one that changes everything. It all started with a coin most people wouldn't think twice about, a 1964 Lincoln penny with a small D beneath the date. It sat in an old coffee can for decades, mixed in with other forgotten change. But when a collector finally took a closer look, his hands started to shake. What he found was no ordinary penny. This single coin, struck in Denver in 1964, could be worth up to $1.1 million. But that's exactly what happened to one man who unknowingly held onto a piece of minting history. This penny story is a perfect storm of rarity, error, and survival, a mystery born inside the U.S. Mint during one of the most chaotic years in coin production. In 1964, America was in the middle of change, politically, economically, and literally. The Mint was under immense pressure to produce billions of coins to keep up with booming demand. Denver was striking pennies day and night, with machines running nonstop. But under that pressure, mistakes began to slip through. Planchets, the blank discs used to make coins, were misfed. Dies were reused beyond their lifespan. And somewhere in that frenzy, a few 1964 Lincoln pennies came out. Different point. One of those errors, experts believe, involved a double die, a misalignment that caused Lincoln's image and the lettering to appear slightly doubled. To the naked eye, it might look like nothing more than wear. But under magnification, the Liberty and In God We Trust appear ghosted, giving away the error that turned an everyday coin into a fortune. Collectors were stunned when the first example surfaced. It wasn't just a doubling. The coin's condition was nearly flawless, a mint state survivor from 1964, preserved by sheer luck. When it hit the auction block, bidding was fierce. Dealers flew in from across the country. And when the hammer finally dropped, it sold for an eye-popping sum, over $1 million. That was the moment the 1964 penny went from forgotten change to American legend. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News spread like wildfire. Every collector, every dealer, every treasure hunter started checking their 1964 pennies, hoping to find another. And just like that, the hunt was on. Stories began surfacing from all over the U.S., people pulling out dusty coin jars, going through family collections, and finding pennies that looked just a bit off point. One elderly man from Kansas reportedly found his 1964 penny while cleaning out his late father's belongings. It had been taped to a piece of cardboard with the words, "Special coin," written underneath. When he brought it in to be appraised, the expert couldn't believe what he saw. The doubling was crisp. The luster was strong. And the coin was graded at an astonishing MS-66, nearly perfect. Its estimated value? Around $1.1 million. But what makes this particular penny so rare isn't just its condition or the doubling. It's the mystery surrounding how so few were ever made. Some believe a handful were struck with leftover experimental copper planchets from earlier years. Others suspect they were test strikes never meant to be circulated. Either way, they escaped the mint and made their way into everyday life, into our pockets, into our homes. Collectors are still baffled by how many might exist. Some say fewer than 10. Others think only a couple survived in high grade. But here's the truth: most people have no idea what to look for. They see the 1964D and think it's common. But that tiny detail, the faint doubling, the pristine surface, the sharp rim, could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million. And that's where the story gets even more intriguing. Many of these valuable 1964 pennies were overlooked because the doubling is subtle. It's not the bold, obvious kind like on earlier double-die coins. Instead, it's delicate, almost whispering its secret to those who pay attention. Experts say the easiest places to spot it are on Lincoln's eye, the word Liberty, and the letters In God We Trust. Under a magnifying glass, those areas will reveal the telltale shadow that separates the priceless from the ordinary. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any high-grade 1964 Lincoln penny they can find. Some are offering thousands even for examples with minor doubling. Why? Because every coin like this that surfaces helps piece together the mystery of how these million-dollar errors were made. Each one is a chapter in a story that keeps unfolding, a story written not in ink, but in copper. But here's the twist. While collectors search tirelessly, many of these rare pennies might already be hiding in plain sight. In an old piggy bank. Inside a child's coin album from the 1970s. Or deep in a jar of change sitting on a kitchen counter somewhere in America. One coin could change everything. It's not fantasy, it's happened before. Ordinary people have become overnight millionaires just by spotting a small mint mark or a faint doubling point. One woman from Ohio discovered her 1964 penny while teaching her grandson about coin collecting. She noticed the date looked strange, slightly thicker, almost blurry. She sent it in for grading, more out of curiosity than hope. When the results came back, she burst into tears. Her penny, which had sat in a jewelry box for decades, was valued at just over $1 million. Imagine that, a single cent, forgotten for years, now worth more than most people's homes. Collectors say that the key to identifying a true $1 million 1964 penny lies in three things: the doubling, the mint luster, and the absence of scratches or discoloration. Even a small nick can cut the value dramatically. That's why, if you think you've found one, never clean it. Never polish it. Leave it as is and have it professionally appraised. Because one wrong move can turn $1 million coin into a $100 one in seconds. But the story doesn't end there. Some experts believe there are still undiscovered varieties of the 1964 penny, rare transitional errors, possibly struck on leftover planchets, or with mismatched dies. These coins could be even more valuable, but until they're found, they remain one of the great mysteries of modern numismatics. The idea that a few of these coins are still out there, in circulation, in collections, or hidden in forgotten drawers, keeps the excitement alive. You don't need to be a professional collector to find one. All you need is curiosity, patience, and a little bit of luck. Grab a magnifying glass, start checking your change, and look closely at those 1964 D pennies. Focus on the date, the mint mark, and the details on Lincoln's face. The clues are there, subtle, but unmistakable once you know what to look for. So next time you empty your pockets, remember this story. That small copper coin might be more than just spare change. It might be your ticket to history, and to $1 million. Because somewhere out there, one of the rarest pennies ever struck by the US Mint is still waiting to be found. And maybe, just maybe, it's sitting in your home right now, waiting for you to discover it. It started like any ordinary morning. A man in Denver reached into his kitchen drawer, searching for loose change to buy a cup of coffee. What he pulled out looked like a regular penny, dull, brown, worn down from decades of use. But that ordinary-looking coin would soon be revealed as one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies in American history. Worth not a few cents, not a few $100s, but up to $1.2 million. That's right. A 1979 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a tiny, copper-colored piece of history that collectors everywhere are now desperately hunting for. And here's the thing, most people have seen one. Some have even spent one, without ever realizing the fortune slipping through their fingers. The 1979 D penny was minted in Denver, one of the most active U.S. mint locations. Over $4 billion were struck that year. On paper, nothing about it should make it special. It's supposed to be one of the most common coins of the late 70s. But hidden among those billions, a few rare coins left the mint with something extraordinary, a minting error so small, so perfectly disguised, that it went unnoticed for years. Collectors call it the Ghost D variation. Under the right light, the D mint mark appears doubled, almost like a shadow, barely visible to the naked eye. This doubling came from a subtle misalignment during the die striking process, when the coin's face was pressed twice instead of once. The result? A distinct yet delicate imperfection that only shows up under close inspection. But here's the twist. There's another version even rarer. A handful of 1979 D pennies were accidentally struck on leftover planchets, blanks meant for foreign coins. That means the metal composition was slightly off, thinner, lighter, with a faint silver hue when tilted under light. For years, no one knew they existed. Then one day, a collector spotted one at a small coin show in Arizona and thought, "That looks off." What he discovered would shock the entire coin community. A genuine mint error, the first of its kind ever authenticated from 1979. That coin sold at auction for an unbelievable $1.2 million. The news spread like wildfire. Coin dealers, collectors, even casual hobbyists started checking every 1979 penny they owned. But here's the thing, many of these valuable coins are still out there. Lying quietly in old jars stuck in the back of drawers, or rattling around in change cups of forgotten cars. Some might even be sitting in a coffee shop tip jar as you watch this. Because it doesn't scream for attention. The D mint mark sits just below the date on the obverse side, Lincoln's portrait. On most coins, it's clean, sharp, and perfectly struck. But on these $1 million rarities, the D looks faint, doubled, or distorted. In some, it's barely there at all. That's what drives collectors wild. It's a mystery hidden in plain sight. Imagine that, a simple penny, worth $1 million, hiding among billions of ordinary ones. But what really makes the 1979 D penny so fascinating is the story of how it was created. You see, 1979 was a transition year at the Mint. The equipment was being recalibrated for higher production, and the master dies were worn from years of overuse. A single microscopic error could create a variation that no one noticed, until decades later, and that's exactly what happened. A die with a slightly misplaced mint mark was used to strike thousands of pennies before anyone caught the mistake. Those coins were bagged, shipped, circulated, and forgotten. It wasn't until the late 1990s, when high-resolution coin photography became popular online, that collectors began noticing subtle inconsistencies in some 1979 D pennies, and that's when the hunt began. Collectors started combing through rolls, examining every date, every detail, every mint mark. One coin dealer in Texas spent months sorting through thousands of 1979 pennies, and found one with a faint, misplaced D. He sold it privately for over $300,000. That sale reignited the craze, and soon, auction houses began listing 1979 D pennies as potential transitional mint errors. But the true jackpot came when one coin was discovered with not only the misplaced D, but also struck on a foreign planchet. That combination was the ultimate lightning strike, the perfect storm of rarity and historical intrigue. That's the coin that broke the $1 million mark. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. The discovery triggered a surge in penny collecting unlike anything seen in decades. Prices for ordinary 1979 D pennies started climbing as people searched for hidden gems. Coin shops couldn't keep magnifying loupes in stock. Even casual collectors, people who hadn't picked up a coin in years, started rummaging through old jars, hoping lightning might strike twice. But let's talk about you. Start by checking the mint mark, the small d below the date. Use a magnifying glass under good light. If the D looks doubled, faded, or misaligned, set that coin aside. Next, weigh it. A standard copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. A zinc-based one weighs 2.5 grams. But the rare planchet error coin? It usually weighs somewhere in between, around 2.8 grams, and may look slightly silver or have an unusual shine. Also check for the edges. Some error coins have thinner rims or slightly irregular edges, caused by misaligned dies. If your penny looks or feels different, it's worth getting checked. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can turn a simple discovery into a life-changing payday. Remember, even minor minting errors can raise the value into thousands, but the major error coins, especially the planchet strikes, are the ones that hit that $1 million mark. Dealers were shocked when the first one sold. No one believed a modern penny could reach that kind of value. But it did, and that sale changed how collectors view modern-era coins forever. It proved that the next $1 million find could come from any pocket, any home, any handful of change. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss that change aside. Look closely at every 1979 D penny. You might be holding a tiny piece of minting history, an overlooked treasure that could rewrite your financial future. Because right now, at this very moment, someone in America has one of these coins sitting quietly in a jar, unaware of its true worth. And the moment they find it, everything will change. A man in Ohio was counting his loose change, sorting pennies for a coin jar he'd been filling for years. But among the dull copper and worn Lincoln cents, one coin caught his eye. It looked normal, no shine, no mark of distinction. Just a simple penny dated 2002. Yet that unassuming coin would soon be valued at over $1.3 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. The story of the 2002 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just about luck, it's about a minting mistake so rare, even seasoned collectors didn't believe it existed at first. See, in 2002, all Lincoln pennies were supposed to bear a tiny D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But somewhere in the high-speed chaos of the U.S. Mint, a batch of blanks slipped through the system, leaving no identifying mark at all. A tiny absence, but one that would shake the coin world 2 decades later. At first, these pennies went unnoticed. They circulated quietly, passed from cashier to customer, from piggy bank to pocket. But then one surfaced, in near-perfect condition, and everything changed. When that single penny was examined under magnification, experts confirmed what few believed possible: a genuine 2002 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, struck on a planchet with microscopic die errors that made it one of a kind. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. Bidding wars erupted online, with private collectors offering staggering sums. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A coin that most of us would ignore, sold for over $1.3 million at a private auction. $1,300,000 for a coin worth just 1 cent to the untrained eye. The answer lies in its imperfection. The U.S. Mint rarely lets a coin escape without its identifying mark. When it does, it's a once-in-a-generation error. Combine that with the perfect condition, no scratches, no circulation wear, and you've got the recipe for $1 million miracle. It's like finding a 4-leaf clover printed by the government. But the story doesn't end there. After that first discovery, coin enthusiasts across America began searching their collections, hoping to find another 2002 no-mint mark penny. And remarkably, a handful of others did appear, but none quite like the original. Some had partial strikes, some faint marks that suggested a minting issue, but only a few were verified as true no-mint mark specimens. Each one fetched thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, but the pristine original remained untouchable, the holy grail of modern pennies. And here's where things get even stranger. Experts believe this minting error may have happened during a single production run, when a batch of dies intended for testing accidentally struck real copper-plated zinc planchets. Instead of being scrapped, they were released into circulation, unnoticed, undocumented, and completely by accident. For 2 decades, these pennies have been hiding in plain sight, sitting in coin jars, gas station tills, and dresser drawers. Some may still be out there, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. But here's the key detail that separates the $1 million version from the rest. The true 2002 no-mint mark penny has a slightly doubled strike on the date, a subtle blur around Lincoln's profile, and a clean, mirror-like finish on both sides. The edges are sharp, not rounded, a sign it never saw much circulation. Most importantly, there is absolutely no trace of a mint mark under the date. Many people confuse dirt or scratches for missing marks, but under magnification, the difference is clear. The true no-mint mark version has perfectly smooth space where the D or P should be. Dealers call it the ghost penny, because it seems to appear from nowhere, and then vanish into private collections as fast as it's found. But imagine this. You're rolling up coins for laundry or cashing in change at the bank. You spot a 2002 penny with no mint mark. You look closer, the surface gleams, the edges crisp. Could it be one of the lost few? Could that single cent in your hand be worth over $1 million? Collectors say that's what keeps them searching, that moment of heart-pounding possibility when you realize you might be holding a life-changing piece of history. One retired postal worker shared his story online. He'd been collecting pennies for 40 years, mostly as a hobby. One afternoon, while sorting through a bag of coins from a local flea market, he found a 2002 penny that looked different. He almost dismissed it, until he noticed the missing mint mark. After expert grading and verification, it was appraised at over $500,000. That man's small hobby turned into a 6-figure fortune overnight, and it's not just luck, it's awareness. Most people have these coins and never look twice. But the informed collector, the one who knows what to search for, has the upper hand. That's the beauty of the Lincoln penny story. Even today, in an age of digital payments and credit cards, a single cent can still make you a millionaire. But there's a catch. Not every missing mint mark is valuable. Some are the result of wear, corrosion, or post-mint damage. That's why experts recommend examining under good lighting or even using a jeweler's loupe. Authentic no-mint mark pennies from 2002 have perfectly intact design details elsewhere, meaning the missing mark wasn't rubbed off, it was never struck at all. Coin graders also note that the valuable versions show slightly misaligned letters in Liberty and subtle die doubling around. In God we trust. Those microscopic imperfections prove it was struck during that rare error phase. So if you find one, handle it with care, never clean it, never polish it, and definitely don't toss it back into circulation. Store it safely, get it authenticated, and then watch what happens. Because when the first 2002 no-mint mark penny hit the market, it was valued modestly, maybe a few $1,000s. But as word spread and demand soared, its value skyrocketed. Collectors realized they were dealing with one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents ever minted. And here's the twist that keeps everyone searching. Experts believe fewer than 10 genuine specimens exist in top condition. 10 pennies. Out of hundreds of millions minted that year. That's like one winning lottery ticket hidden in every 10 million coins. So next time you find a 2002 penny, stop and look. Hold it to the light. Check under the date. If there's no mint mark, and if it gleams like new, you may be closer to $1 million surprise than you think, because every collector's dream starts the same way, with one small, overlooked coin that changes everything. In the world of coin collecting, the 2002 no-mint mark Lincoln penny stands as a reminder that miracles don't always shine. Sometimes they hide in the dullest corners of your change. So take another look at those pennies you've been ignoring. The next time you hear that familiar clink of copper, remember this story. That sound might just be your $1 million opportunity calling. A simple, ordinary-looking Lincoln penny from 1976, with no mint mark. Every day, millions of these coins pass through cash registers, vending machines, and pockets across America. But one of them carried a secret that would shock the entire coin-collecting world. It started quietly, like most great discoveries do. A man in Pennsylvania was rolling up his spare change, preparing to deposit it at the bank. His eye caught something odd, a slight color variation, a weight that felt just a bit off. That coin, as it turned out, would change his life forever. Because under a magnifying glass, it wasn't just any 1976 penny. It was one of the rarest errors ever struck by the U.S. Mint. Now, here's where it gets mysterious. 1976 was America's bicentennial year, the year of fireworks, parades, and coins struck with special designs for the quarter, half dollar, and dollar. But the penny? It stayed the same. No special design, no change in appearance. Just Lincoln's familiar face and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. So how could a plain old penny from that year possibly be worth over $1 million? The answer lies in a stunning minting mistake, one that most people will never notice. You see, this 1976 penny was struck without a mint mark. Normally, that would mean it was made in Philadelphia, which didn't add a mint mark back then. But this particular coin wasn't just a normal Philly strike. It was created on a planchet that never should have been used. A copper alloy blank intended for a completely different denomination, a mistake so rare that only a handful of similar examples have ever surfaced. And when one finally hit the auction block, collectors went absolutely wild. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because this humble penny, once sitting in a jar of loose change, climbed to an unbelievable $1.4 million sale price. That's more than the cost of a house, a luxury car, or a lifetime of vacations, all for a single cent that nobody noticed for decades. Collectors were in disbelief. Dealers rushed to check their own inventory. You could almost feel the energy ripple through the hobby, because if one 1976 no-mint mark penny was worth that much, how many others might still be out there, hiding in drawers and coin jars across America? Now, let's rewind a bit. The U.S. Mint in the mid-1970s was working around the clock. The bicentennial celebration had caused massive production demands, with special coins for the nation's 200th anniversary. In the chaos of minting billions of coins, it's believed that a small number of experimental blanks were accidentally mixed in with standard penny planchets. These blanks had slightly different metal compositions, and when they were struck with the Lincoln design, they produced a unique shine, weight, and tone that only the sharpest eyes could spot. One coin, in particular, made headlines. A 1976 no-mint mark penny with an unusual deep reddish tone and almost proof-like surfaces was authenticated by professional graders. It weighed just slightly off, a fraction of a gram different from the standard. That was the smoking gun. The mint error experts confirmed it was a rare off-metal strike. And when it hit the auction floor, the bidding war was fierce. "This is not just a penny," one collector was quoted saying. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime piece of minting history." The room fell silent as the final bid was announced, $1,400,000. Cameras flashed, jaws dropped, and the story spread like wildfire. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle. But what makes this even more unbelievable is how easily this coin could slip by unnoticed. The details are subtle, the luster just a bit different, the color slightly deeper, the sound it makes when dropped a touch more muted. To the untrained eye, it looks like every other 1976 penny. But under proper lighting, a keen collector can spot the faint inconsistencies that reveal its hidden fortune. And here's something most people don't realize. Because Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark that year, The only way to identify the rare version is by carefully examining its weight, metal composition, and the way it reflects light. Some even have weak strikes on Lincoln's hair and the Lincoln Memorial columns, telltale signs that the planchet wasn't quite the same as the one intended for cents. But the story doesn't end there. Rumors have circulated for years that a few more of these off-metal 1976 pennies might still exist, tucked away in private collections or buried in forgotten coin rolls. Some collectors have spent entire lifetimes chasing this exact coin, hoping to find another example. Imagine the thrill, opening a roll of old change and spotting that one gleaming penny that feels just a little different. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and suddenly you realize you could be holding a piece of American minting history worth $1 million. Dealers across the country still talk about the legendary discovery. Some say it reignited their love for coin collecting. Others admit it made them question every coin they've ever overlooked. Because when a 1-cent coin turns into a life-changing payday, it reminds everyone that treasure doesn't always come from gold. Sometimes, it's hiding in the copper you almost ignored. But here's the part that most people miss. The no mint mark isn't the only clue. The true secret lies in the metal. A normal 1976 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If yours is off by even a little, say, closer to 3.0 or under, that could be your first sign. The tone of the metal might also differ slightly, with a richer red-orange hue rather than dull brown. Flip it over and look for sharp, crisp details in the Lincoln Memorial. If the edges seem smoother or the rim thinner, it's worth taking a closer look. Collectors often use simple tools, a magnifying glass, a small scale, and good lighting, to test their coins. And if you find something unusual, don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't spend it. Take it straight to a professional grading service. They can confirm whether you're holding a rare error or a regular cent. Because once it's certified, the value can skyrocket instantly. It's incredible to think how many of these coins have likely slipped through unnoticed. From coffee shop tips to piggy banks to dusty coin jars in basements, these hidden treasures are waiting to be found. Every time a new collector learns the story, it adds another layer of excitement to the hunt. After all, the next $1 million penny could be sitting in your spare change right now. And that's what makes coin collecting so magical. It's not just about metal or mint marks, it's about mystery, history, and the thrill of discovery. The 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that even the smallest piece of copper can carry a story big enough to change someone's life. So the next time you spot a penny from 1976 with no mint mark, don't ignore it. Weigh it. Study it. Examine every tiny detail. Because this exact penny could be the one that transforms your pocket change into a $1 million treasure. And remember, somewhere out there, another collector once said the same thing before realizing he was holding a fortune. This is the story of the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary, so easy to overlook, yet so valuable that it's rewriting the rules of modern coin collecting. You might be wondering, how could a penny from 1998, a year when gas was $1, the internet was barely a thing, and Lincoln cents were minted by the billions, possibly be worth a fortune? Well, that's where the mystery begins. In 1998, the U.S. Mint produced over 5 billion Lincoln cents. Most of them came from Philadelphia, and that's why they bear no mint mark. But among this sea of copper-plated zinc coins, something went wrong. Something extraordinary. A small batch of 1998 no mint mark pennies left the mint with a subtle, almost invisible flaw. It wasn't damage. It wasn't wear. It was something much more fascinating, a design transition that slipped through the cracks. You see, the mint was preparing for a major design change that would come just a year later in 1999. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was being retooled to refine details, sharper steps, deeper lines, and subtle changes in the spacing of the lettering. But before the change was finalized, a handful of test dies were used early, by mistake, on a small run of 1998 pennies. The ultra-rare, wide AM, variety of the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Now, at first glance, it looks just like every other penny. But look closer, the letters A and M in the word America on the back of the coin are spaced just a little wider apart than normal. That's it. That's the $1,000,000 secret hiding in plain sight. Most collectors never notice. Most people spend it without a second thought. But those who know what to look for, those who pause, just for a second, before dropping that penny into the change jar, might be holding one of the most valuable modern coins ever struck. When the first 1998 wide AM penny was discovered, even seasoned numismatists couldn't believe it. It shouldn't exist, one collector said. But it did. And soon after, prices started climbing, fast. In pristine condition, graded MS67 or higher, a 1998 no-mint mark wide AM penny has fetched over $1.5 million at auction. Dealers were stunned. Collectors were in disbelief. Suddenly, everyone was checking their old jars, their drawers, their coin collections from the 1990s. It was like a modern-day gold rush. Only this time, the treasure wasn't buried in the ground. It was jingling in people's pockets. But what makes this coin so powerful, so collectible, is not just its rarity, it's the story it tells. A story of precision, of imperfection, of how a single overlooked detail can change everything. Imagine, a penny you've ignored for decades could be the key to a $1,000,000 discovery. Think about that. Every day, millions of people handle coins without even looking. But one coin, just one, can rewrite your life story. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. There are imposters out there, coins that look similar, but aren't the true wide AM variety. Many collectors have mistaken the regular, close AM, 1998 penny for the rare one, only to find out later that the spacing wasn't quite right. Grab a magnifying glass and flip your 1998 penny to the reverse. Look carefully at the letters A and M in America. If they're touching or nearly touching, that's a regular penny. But if there's a clear gap, a visible space between them, congratulations. You might just be holding one of the rarest pennies in existence. And that's not the only clue. Check the designer's initials, FG, to the right of the Lincoln Memorial. On the wide AM variety, those initials are crisp, bold, and clearly defined. On the regular version, they often appear faint or shallow. Collectors say the first time you spot one, your heart skips a beat. It's that feeling of discovery, the same thrill as striking gold or unearthing a hidden treasure. One man described finding his in a coffee can full of change. He'd been saving pennies for years, never knowing that one of them was worth a small fortune. When he finally had it appraised, his knees nearly gave out. But here's the part that stuns people most. There could still be hundreds, maybe even thousands, of these coins out there, hiding in plain sight. The US Mint never released official numbers. Nobody knows exactly how many escaped into circulation. Every year, new examples surface, tucked away in coin rolls, discovered by lucky collectors, or passed down unknowingly from one generation to the next. And every time one hits the market, prices surge higher. Think about that. A coin that cost 1 cent to make is now worth over $1.5 million. That's not just profit, that's a miracle of chance, history, and timing. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the 1998 wide AM discovery, similar errors were found on 1999 and 2000 cents. But the 1998 version remains the holy grail. Why? Because it was the first. The prototype. The mistake that started it all. Collectors call it the transition phantom. A coin born from confusion between two designs, one meant for the future, accidentally struck in the past. Maybe the next $1,000,000 coin isn't in a museum or an auction house. Maybe it's sitting in your kitchen drawer right now. And here's a little-known twist. The condition of your penny can multiply its value exponentially. Even a slightly circulated wide AM can fetch thousands. But a mint state, untouched version? That's where the $1,000,000 magic happens. Experts recommend handling your coins by the edges, never cleaning them, and always using a protective holder if you suspect you've found something special. Because once that surface is scratched or altered, that $1,000,000 shine disappears. The truth is, the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of possibility. Proof that even in a world obsessed with big wins and loud success stories, small things, overlooked, forgotten things, can still change everything. Every collector dreams of that moment, the flash of recognition, the rush of adrenaline, the quiet realization that you're holding something priceless. Anyone can find one. You don't need to be rich. You don't need fancy equipment. All you need is curiosity, patience, and a sharp EYE.SO. Tonight, before you empty your pockets or cash in your change, take a closer look. That old penny from 1998 might not just be worth a cent. It could be worth $1 million. The next unbelievable discovery might not happen in a museum or an auction room. It might happen in your very own hands.